Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we uncover the leadership life hacks that help you to experience breakout performance faster and rocket to success. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
How do you get higher contact center agent performance? It's when customers grade the call and their ratings and comments are used to motivate and coach agents. Uncover hidden secrets and replicate your best agents with the real-time insights from the award-winning external quality monitoring program from Customer Relationship Metrics. Move onward and upward by going to customersgradethecall.com/fast and getting a $7,500 rapid results package for free. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, today I'm excited because I have somebody on the show that I guarantee you've heard, but never seen or known. Born in Hinton, Alberta, along with two older sisters and an older brother, Allison Smith wasn't a singer, but as a child, she would sing all the product jingles at the grocery store. She was very aware of branding and corporate identity from an early age. While most other teens were lip-syncing into a hairbrush, Allison practiced reading ad copy from magazines out loud. And when Allison got into voiceover, paying the bills in between acting jobs, little did she realize that it would take over as her mainstay, especially voicing telephone systems, which is her niche. Although she's always loved calling the time temperature line, and she remembered wanting to be the time lady. As Allison and her husband are finally doing their wills, it occurred to her that she'll be leaving behind quite a legacy of sound files, which she has appointed a group of trusted clients in the telephony industry to steward and see that they're used responsibly and in an open source environment. It was pointed out to her that at any given time, there's probably one of her telephone files playing somewhere in the world. Currently, Allison is the CEO and voice goddess of the IVR voice. She's seeing big growth in her business, and when other voice talent ask her how she's doing it, she says, honestly, she doesn't know. She keeps in her lane, she keeps her head down, she does the best quality work she can, she attempts to give all clients the best service she can, and she promises herself that if it no longer gives her joy, she won't do it anymore. But luckily, after 25 years, that hasn't happened, and she can't foresee the day when she won't want to walk up to her mic and see what happens. Allison currently lives in Calgary with her husband and dog Bailey, where she's lived since she was 6 years old. Allison Smith, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
I am definitely ready. Hello, Jim. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, I'm excited to be here and to have you here because, I've known you for a very long time, and I chuckled with you when we chatted off mic about the fact that, I find myself making, phone calls, both personal and professional, into companies, and I hear your voice, and it just makes me laugh. But I've given our listeners a little bit about you, but can you tell us what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
Well, my passion happens to be this niche that I've gotten into, voicing telephone systems. And it seems to be something that just has recurring consistency and recurring revenue. Once you voice telephone prompts for a company and they want that consistency of the same voice, which hopefully they will, because it gives them sort of a nice, smooth, creative feel. Hopefully they will return to the same voice talent again and again. So I've actually blogged about it to other voice talents saying, if you want really good recurring revenue and a good customer base that seems to grow year by year, telephone voicing is actually a pretty good niche. So I'm blessed. I have so many clients that come back. PetSmart is actually a huge client of mine. I voice a lot of their address files. So whenever they open stores, they need me to voice the new addresses. PetSmart is just one of many, many companies that I work for.
Well, and you also work for the company that I work for, Customer Relationship Metrics, and you've been doing our survey files for many, many, many years. And
yes,
definitely it's one of those things where the consistency is so important. When you start thinking about a lot of companies wanting to do their own personal brand, and a lot of times they'll have like that executive record some of their voice prompts and things like that. Where have you seen an issue with that occur versus, using, someone who's not in that role?
It's such a great question because a lot of people think I speak, I can do these voice prompts. Everybody speaks, and it's not seen as necessarily a specialized skill until you start to voice your own voice prompts and realize that there is actually a skill set involved. As with anything anybody does, there is a definite skill set involved in voicing prompts that are clean, consistent, edited well, recorded professionally. And not only that, if you get somebody in your company to voice the prompts, as many people will do, they'll just grab the receptionist. She answers the phone anyhow. Let's just get her to do the prompts. She may not be available to do things like updates. She might get promoted. She might quit the company. And then if you just keep grabbing people on staff to do the voicing, you'll end up with a big mosaic of voices. I always tell the example of Shaw Cable, which is a really big cable entity here in Canada. If you've ever called for support, I think last time I called, because we were having issues with our DCT box, I counted 15 different voices on their telephone system, which in my opinion sounds a little amateur and really doesn't sound professional at all.
One thing that a lot of people don't realize unless they are into, the audio at a higher level is, you start dealing with bit rates and, just mono and stereo and file sizes and all of those things. It does get quite technical.
Sure. Oh, yeah. And, you mentioned Customer Relationship Metrics, which is a great company. And when I do those surveys, you have to realize that there needs to be a little bit of a mood or attitude change when you're voicing an intro prompt, as opposed to, oh, I'm sorry to hear that you are dissatisfied with our company. Please leave a message and let us know in which ways we can improve. So there needs to be almost a little bit of caretaking and management of customer dissatisfaction if it does come up. So these are the kind of the little emotional changes that can be made in a telephone system that a layperson may not know how to maneuver around, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes total sense to me. Being in the industry for a long time, and I think all of us from a consumerism perspective, we've probably listened to hours and hours of both, prompts as well as on-hold messaging and telephone systems by the time we hit, my age, which is almost 50. It's been, if I tabulated it all up, it's been probably hundreds of hours.
Oh, sure. Easily. Yeah. And, I did one day of recording where I did the IVR for the Archdiocese of New Orleans. And then right after that, I did a customer satisfaction survey for Victoria's Secret. It couldn't be more different. And those two different clients required such a different treatment to record for. So, yeah, I'm happy to say that the acting background actually gives me a little bit of a leg up. A lot of voiceover people come from a broadcast background, which isn't bad. But it's amazing how often the acting sensibilities are drawn into even doing IVR voicing.
It's a really interesting point that you make, because I think also from just a customer care and support perspective, more and more organizations are starting to be more in tuned to the words that are being said, yes, but then also how they're being said, because right now everybody talks about this whole empathy issue. And trying to create rapport and build relationships with customers, and how agents are people who are on the phone working for companies are sound like it's scripted empathy.
Exactly. It drives me crazy when they say, well, I'm sorry to hear you're having that problem. That must be very frustrating. Well, I'm here to help you through that problem. It just sounds so rehearsed and so scripted. It's just one of those things. And also, here's something that I always mention in presentations when I'm talking about IVR best practices. Think about the last time you actually picked up the phone to call a company because you had to deal with something. Chances are you've already been to their website, you're already familiar with what they do, and your request is so specialized, or your question has not been answered by any of the material you've read on their website. So if more people design telephone systems with that understanding that anybody who calls in is going to be a very specialized customer, or unfortunately, sometimes it means they're unhappy and they need to speak to an actual person to get to the bottom of their issue. If more systems were designed with that in mind, I think it would be kinder to the caller and would frustrate them less.
That's a great point that you bring up. With the impact of mobile, and a lot of people think that people are using, voice, prompts and IVRs and those systems less and less. People don't want to call anymore. They want to self-serve. They want to chat. They want to do all that. Have you seen actually a downturn in your business because of the increase, in mobile?
Actually, no. I think there will always be room for an IVR, and especially one that's so intuitive that it is self-driven, as you say. People are very self-serve, especially the younger generation. They want to be able to transact and take care of this without having to explain their issue to a live agent. So to answer your question, no, I don't think self-serve pushes IVR out of the way at all. In fact, I think it's, if anything, it might impact the on-hold industry because people tolerate being on hold less and less. And if their time is spent on hold, it better be valuable content that they're listening to. And, I like on hold systems that actually engage the caller and ask them to participate in their care. While you're on hold, make sure you have your contract number and blah, blah, blah. That sort of thing involves the caller a little bit more rather than, we've been in business for 40 years. We make widgets, and here's why our widgets are the best. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I can imagine from a customer experience perspective, you just have a wealth of insight talking about that skill set as well. It's that, the person who's just picking up and recording a particular prompt has no visibility and understanding of really and I don't want to date you, but you've been doing this for a couple of decades now. I mean, I can imagine the bank and the knowledge base that you built on doing this, and also understanding all of those nuances that we talked about, is quite significant.
Well, yeah. And, I think I had kind of an aha moment, almost like an epiphany a few years ago when I realized that maybe my job is a bit more complex than just recording telephone prompts and sending them off to the client and collecting the check. More and more clients are asking me for my opinion about, why are we having this big caller drop off? Why are people hanging up? Why are people, thinking that perhaps our phone menu is a bit too labyrinthine, if I could say? So it occurred to me that through blogging, through speaking at telephony conventions and doing things like this, kind of a podcast, hopefully it's educating people a bit more about how IVR can be used for so much more than just a mechanism to sort callers, which is how it was explained to me when I first started doing it. They said it's almost like an escalator that takes all the people in white jackets and sorts them off to the left, and all the other colors go off to the right. And then in that right-facing stream, there's further sorting of other colors. And I guess that's a good way to explain it. And yet I think IVR should be used for so much more than just organizing callers into the various departments.
Well, in addition to that, I mean, what I hear a lot is people saying how you can, divert, people into low-cost self-serve options. But if that's your mindset, what you had stated, and as well as, it's a cost-cutting tool, you'll actually find that it's a volume increasing tool and a customer defection tool.
Absolutely. There's no question about that. Yeah. Yeah. No,
but with having a, theater background and, being in this business so long and getting exposed to so many different, types of environments, you talk about the diocese, and Victoria's Secret. I mean, all these different clients that you're dealing with. I'm sure you've been exposed to, a lot of different cultures and ideas and thoughts. And we have the opportunity to pull, inspiration and things like that from there. And on a show, we look at quotes in order to help inspire us. Is there a quote or two that you can share?
Yeah, I think I read it a while back and it seems to really resonate with me. The quote goes something like, people will forget what you say and they might even forget what you do, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And isn't it true that when you meet someone, they sort of leave almost like a little bit of a vapor trail behind? You have that sort of sense memory of what it was like to deal with that person. So I always try to keep that in mind in any of my interactions, whether they be professional or personal. I think you can leave someone with a very good, resounding impression, or it could be negative, and it might as well be a good one.
Now, I know for me, I don't have a massive sample of, leaders in regards to guests who've been on the show, but that particular quote by Maya Angelou has been the most memorable quote and recommended quote by guests on our show. I mean, the impact that has and the depth that it has been tremendous. And it even fits into what we were just talking about a moment ago with what you were saying, as far as it isn't just a voice recording that's on your system. It's a way for you to leave a trail, to make a connection, and to have an impact.
You know, if I think about the idea of calling my bank, I instantly get a pit in my stomach because I think, oh, great. I'm going to have to carve out probably 20 minutes to a half an hour to call. They're going to ask for my PIN number several times during the process. They're going to ask for my language selection because I'm in Canada and they're going to want to confirm that I still want English and not French. And it's exhausting. It's never an easy call to make. What if Royal Bank of Canada, I'll just say who they are. What if they decided to do things like other financial institutions that I voiced for, in which they are trying actively not to appear to be intimidating, not to appear to be formal, and to demystify money and to get people over their fear of talking about money? So that's an example of an industry where they've had a certain way of doing things, and now people are kind of breaking out of that tradition and being very warm and very accessible. I think people will remember how a company made them feel when they've called them once and they go, oh, yeah, Frog Box Recycling. That was fun last time I had to call them. You know, I honestly think that the phone system is an extension of the company's brand, but too many people don't see the phone system as something that should stay consistent with their website personality and any sort of media buy if they do any radio or TV buys.
Okay, so I had the opportunity to sit in at the call center conference and demo a session that was done by Leslie O'Flahaven. She has been on the show as well, and she specializes in writing. And she was doing a session on brand voice. And what you were just talking about right there is brand voice, having a consistent brand voice in everything you do, whether it's, you know, that scripted email that you have to send, or whether it's a website page, whether it's your IVR voice. Your brand voice has to come through and be consistent so you don't have that, you know, inconsistency, which translates into unprofessional feel and look, you know, throughout your different customer touch points and your interaction points. So definitely brand voice, IVR voice, they go together.
Absolutely, they do. So
when you start looking at, you know, gosh, getting into this business and doing what you're doing in itself was getting over a hump. You know, you talked about it filling in, you know, between acting jobs, but there's other humps that we have to get over in life, and they teach us a ton. Is there a story that you can share with us when you got over the hump?
Gosh, you know, I think I came to a realization when pursuing acting jobs got really, really difficult. And when I did get them, I found them very intrusive to life, basically, because especially if you work in theater, it eats up your evenings and your weekends, and that kind of compromises family time. So it just became clear to me at one point that this fill-in job of voiceover was actually going to take over as my mainstay, which was fantastic because the hours are better. Quite frankly, the money's better. And just as a general lifestyle choice, it just is so much kinder to my life and my family's life. I make a firm rule, unless clients are really, really stuck, I make a firm rule of not recording in the evenings or on the weekends. Again, I will help clients out if they're in a jam, and I'm sensitive to other time zones. I actually did the IVR for a sandwich shop in Saudi Arabia, of all places, and had to kind of accommodate their time zones. But apart from that, this is a fantastic way for me to stay creative and yet still have some control over my life. Even film, I will do some commercials and the occasional film gigs if they come my way, but they can eat up your entire day. I guess that's what I would consider to be a hump to get over, would be this idea of giving up acting is not necessarily a bad thing. It was like a gentle redirect in another area that just feels completely 100% right to me. And as I said or as you said in the intro, I can't foresee a day that I won't be doing this. I realize the voice changes over time. But as long as I still sound like me, I can't really foresee a day where I won't want to record every day.
So that's interesting that you say that. Thanks for sharing. Is that you said to sound like me? A lot of people, when they often record, they refer to hating their own voice. You know, I can't stand the way I sound.
Yeah.
So I would dare to say that you've probably called and talked to yourself, in a sense, more than anybody I know. So what is it like when you talk to you or call you at a business?
Yeah, and it happens all the time. I ordered a hotel wake-up call in Dallas, Texas, and I'd forgotten that I did the wake-up system for the hotel chain, and it was me waking me up. My husband also had the experience of downloading a workout program for his smartphone that keeps you motivated at the gym. It's kind of like having your own personal coach. And, I think you know where I'm going with this. They were running a text-to-speech engine that I voiced. So it was me saying, come on, 5 more sit-ups, you can do it. And, he actually had that changed to the Australian male. Because I think he didn't want me pestering him at the gym, which is kind of crazy. But to get back to what you were asking about, almost everybody hates the sound of their own voice because you're hearing it muffled through a whole network of bone and tissue. And when you're hearing your voice recorded, you're hearing yourself speaking to yourself. I, on the other hand, have this sort of detached view, almost like a ballet dancer looking at their alignment in a mirror and going, nope, that's a little bit off. They're very clinical. And I too, because I edit my sound files all day. So I do have that kind of almost detached view that it's almost like a product that I'm working with as opposed to being self-conscious about how I sound.
I think that's a very interesting point. I mean, I found myself going through that same transition. Luckily, by the time I actually started doing podcasting, I had heard my own voice so many times that it was like it wasn't me.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Another interesting area that I'm starting to get into is vocal coaching, and specifically to the yoga community, because I'm a big yoga practitioner. And I've noticed that many yoga teachers will come in with an agenda, as in they want to sound like the mystical yoga teacher. So they actually come in with a persona. Also, many of them are younger women who seem to be prone to vocal affectations, such as upspeak, where the ends of all the sentences sound like a question. You've probably heard younger women speaking like that. Also, things like vocal fry, which is where they sort of sound like that. And that seems to be almost like a trend with younger women. So it's interesting. I'm actually hired by some yoga studios to come in and coach their teachers on how to use their voices more effectively. So I find that extremely rewarding.
That's a very interesting point, because I was reading a study that was talking about the perception of somebody's IQ, and they were specifically referring to that whole up speak that you were talking about. Like
yes.
you end a sentence with an up, and you do that, and they were saying how the people that actually do that, and it's part of their habit, that they're perceived to be less intelligent than those that do not. So it does have an impact.
Yes. In fact, I think it sounds the opposite of confident. I think it sounds like you're questioning everything you're saying, and you're asking for approval from whoever it is you're talking to. So it's interesting, though, because as soon as I pointed out to someone, I actually did have a yoga teacher that was almost speaking in a Valley Girl kind of cadence. She would say things like, move your leg, move your head. And the minute I pointed it out to her, she said, oh my gosh, I do that. And she stopped doing it. So there's a good awareness that comes with monitoring your own speech patterns. A certain amount of affectation is normal, and some of it's regional. It depends on where you live. But it's speech is fascinating to me.
Like we were saying, it has a much larger neuroscientific impact than we really are even aware of. I mean, the way that our brain actually processes and interprets and perceives and does all, we still are at the very, very early stages of understanding all of that.
Absolutely. And speech, we are so attuned to final nuances and stuff that you cannot get across in social media and typing over email. So a lot of meaning gets lost when it's not in the spoken word.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Okay. So I know, you've been doing this for 25 years. However, you talked about expanding and doing, some other things, doing some of the coaching work, doing some of that. Mm-hmm. But when you start looking at all the things that you have going, what are some of your goals?
I think I always struggle with that question because really what I want to be doing is what I'm doing maybe on a bigger scale. I look at a contract like Siri. Oh my gosh, it would be incredible to be on that scale. So that's always what I'm striving to, is to be kind of like a Siri type voice. Although many people have said I'm probably like a lesser known version of Siri because I do show up everywhere. It's amazing how many different places I show up. I actually took a ticket out of a parking garage kiosk dispenser, and it was me saying, "Please take your ticket." It's just extremely trippy. So yes, my goal would be to do more of the same, and also to leave my sound files as a legacy in a responsible way. I actually found an organization who I'm currently in talks with. They supply voices to disabled people and people who have lost their speech. And they are actually after lay people all over the world, even people without broadcast experience, to contribute to their voice bank. And when I contacted them and said, well, I have audio drives upon audio drives of sound files, and what do I do with them after I'm no longer here? And they're extremely interested in perhaps integrating my voice into their compendium of sounds. So it's interesting.
Well, that's an interesting legacy.
Yes, I would say so.
And the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. Maximum contact center agent performance is impossible unless your customer's involved in grading and coaching agents. So make it simple for you and customers with the award-winning external quality monitoring program from Customer Relationship Metrics. Get over the hump now by going to customersgradethecall.com/fast and getting your $7,500 rapid results package for free. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Allison, the Hump Day Hoedown is part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Allison Smith, are you ready to hoe down?
I'm scared but ready. Okay.
All right. So what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
Confidence.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
Keep your voice low, keep it slow, and don't say too much.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
Keep your head down and stay in your lane and do your thing.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
Tenacity. I really don't see myself doing anything else, so I'm determined to keep doing this.
What would be one book that you'd recommend to our listeners? And it can be from any genre.
Oh, gosh. Actually, one of my go-tos is a book called Self-Promotion for Creative People or the Creative Person. It was written about a dozen years ago. It's fantastic.
Okay, Fast Leader Legion, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Allison Smith. And that's Allison with 2 L's. Okay, Allison, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25. And you've been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you. But you can't take everything back. You can only choose one. So what skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you and why?
I would say to 25-year-old Allison, don't worry so much. That was my big thing, is almost seeing too far into the future and worrying and anticipating. It's all going to shake out exactly as it should, and it's going to be better than you ever imagined it could be.
Allison, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
Absolutely. So my website is theIVRvoice.com. I can be emailed at Allison with 2 L's at theIVRvoice.com. And on the Twitter machine, I am at VoiceGal. Please connect with me. I'm trying to reach a certain number by the end of the year, so I hope I get that.
Allison Smith, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.